You see a photograph, a digital window into a life that no longer seems to include you. In it, they are smiling. Perhaps they are holding a glass of wine, surrounded by friends, or standing against a sunset that looks far too peaceful. To the untrained eye, it looks like liberation. It looks like they have finally exhaled. But you feel a discordance, a glitch in the matrix. Your mind, the logical, terrified part of your mind, tells you that you have been forgotten. Your ego whispers that the avoidant soul has finally found the happiness they claimed they couldn't find with you. You feel the cold weight of being the only one left holding the tangled threads of this connection. But I want you to look closer, not at the photograph, but at the energy behind the pixels. There is a specific kind of haunting that happens to the person who runs from their own heart. They are not celebrating their freedom from you. They are celebrating their temporary success in outrunning themselves. The truth is this: he may post a picture of a party, but in the quiet hours, his soul is attending a funeral. He is mourning the version of himself that was brave enough to love you, and he is desperately, frantically trying to bury the evidence. If you are the holder of space, the one who has been left standing in the vacuum of their absence, you are not the one who is lost. You are the anchor. And today, we are going to look behind the curtain of their silence. We will explore what actually happens when the noise stops. The friends go home, and the avoidant soul is left alone with the one person they cannot escape: themselves. You see them moving through the world with a lightness that feels like an insult. You see the curated images of a life that appears untouched by the gravity of what you shared. It is natural to feel that you are the only one carrying the weight of the connection. It is natural to assume that their silence is a sign of peace. But we must look beneath the surface of the water. We must understand the architecture of the avoidant soul. This is not a story of a person who stopped loving you. This is a story of a person who became terrified of how much they cared. When the avoidant soul encounters a connection of this magnitude, they do not see a doorway. They see a mirror, and that mirror is too bright. It reflects back every shadow, every unhealed wound, and every secret shame they have spent a lifetime hiding. Your love did not just offer them warmth, it offered them the truth. And for many, the truth is a threat to the survival of the ego. To understand why they run, you must understand the nervous system. We often speak of spirituality as something floating in the ether, but the soul speaks through the body. When the avoidant soul felt the depth of your bond, their nervous system misread intimacy as danger. They experienced a biological state of alarm. To them, being truly seen by you felt like being hunted. They did not have the internal wiring to process that much light. So they did what all living things do when they are overwhelmed. They retreated. They engaged a defense mechanism called compartmentalization. Imagine their mind is a sprawling house. When the connection became too intense, they did not leave the house. They simply took the memory of you and locked it in a room in the basement. They reinforced the door, they turned off the lights, and then they moved all their furniture to the top floor. When you see them at a party or smiling in a photograph, you are looking at the top floor. They are living in a tiny corner of their own psyche. They are pretending the basement does not exist. This is the energy of suppression. It requires an immense amount of daily effort to keep that door locked. This is why they seem so busy. This is why they jump into new distractions or shallow romances. They are trying to drown out the sound of the heartbeat coming from beneath the floorboards. But suppression is a double-edged sword. You cannot selectively numb emotion. When they shut out the pain of missing you, they also shut out the ability to feel true joy. They are living in a state of gray rock consciousness. Their happiness is a facade of safety. It is a life lived in a narrow band of frequency. They are safe from the heights of love, but they are also trapped in the depths of a quiet, gray boredom. There is a psychological concept called cognitive dissonance. The avoidant soul is currently trapped in a loop. Their soul knows the connection is real, but their ego insists that they are better off alone. To bridge this gap, they create a narrative. They tell themselves that you were the problem. They focus on your flaws. They magnify your moments of intensity to justify their escape. This is a survival tactic. If they admit that you are their greatest love, they have to admit that they were too weak to stay. And the ego will do anything to avoid that realization. So they wear the mask. They post the picture. They tell the world they are free. But freedom without depth is just a different kind of prison. They are not running toward something better. They are running away from the reflection of their own greatness. In the realm of quantum entanglement, there is no such thing as distance. Two particles that have been linked remain linked forever. You are the holder of space, and they are the avoidant soul, but the rope between you is still taut. When you feel a sudden wave of sadness in the middle of the afternoon, it is often not yours. You are picking up on the frequency of their suppression. The more they push the connection down, the more it radiates outward as anxiety. They feel a nameless agitation. They feel a sense of wrongness in their environment that they cannot explain. They reach for a drink, a new hobby, or a new person to soothe the itch. But the itch is internal. It is the soul screaming to be heard. They are like a person trying to outrun their own shadow. For a while, if they run fast enough into the light, the shadow disappears. But eventually, the sun sets. When the noise finally stops, the dark night begins. This is what happens when they are truly alone. When the phone is put away and the house is silent, the basement door begins to rattle. The avoidant soul is forced to confront the vacuum they created. They begin to realize that the silence they fought for is actually a void. They suffer, but it is a cold suffering. It is not the hot, expressive grief that you feel. It is a hollow ache. It is the realization that they have traded a masterpiece for a blank canvas. They begin to wonder if they have made a catastrophic mistake. But because they are unawakened, they do not call you. They do not reach out. Instead, they double down on the silence. They wait for the feeling to pass. But this connection is not a feeling. It is a fundamental shift in their identity. The truth is that they are not happy without you. They are merely stable. They have traded the wild, transformative ocean of your love for the safety of a puddle. They feel safe because they can see the bottom, but they are thirsty. They are starving for the depth that only you provided. Do not be fooled by the external show. The avoidant soul is in a state of spiritual malnutrition. They are fighting a battle against the divine timing of their own evolution. Every day they spend in silence is a day they spend wrestling with the inevitable. They are not winning. They are simply delaying the moment they have to look in the mirror again. And the next time they look, the reflection will be even clearer. You are not the one who is losing. You are the one who is already awake. They are the ones who have to wake up in a room they no longer recognize. We must now invite a radical shift in how you perceive this period of separation. You have spent many months viewing this silence as a void or a personal rejection. You have felt like the victim of their choice to walk away. But I want you to consider a different possibility. What if this silence is not a punishment, but a divine necessity? What if you are not the one who is being tested, but rather the one who is being protected while they are being pursued? There is a profound concept in spiritual literature known as the Hound of Heaven. It suggests that the soul is a persistent hunter. It suggests that when a person tries to run from their true nature, the universe does not let them go easily. The avoidant soul believes they have escaped you. They believe they have successfully navigated their way back to a life of safety and control. But they have actually walked into a trap set by their own higher consciousness. In the past, well, you were the buffer. You were the one doing the emotional heavy lifting for the connection. As the holder of space, you processed the feelings. You analyzed the dynamics. You did the spiritual work, and you felt the pain for both of you. You were the emotional metabolizer. When you were in their life, they did not have to face themselves because you were there to hold the mirror. You were there to offer grace and understanding. You were the shock absorber for their unhealed trauma. But when the connection breaks and the silence falls, the buffer is removed. The avoidant soul is suddenly standing in the raw wind of their own existence. They no longer have you to blame for their discomfort. They no longer have your energy to lean on. They are left alone with the weight of their own choices. This is where the paradigm shifts. You are no longer the one suffering in the dark. They are the ones who have entered the wilderness. Think of the effort it takes to hold a beach ball underwater. For a while, it is easy. You can hold it down with one hand and smile at the people on the shore. This is the avoidant soul in the first few weeks of separation. They feel a sense of relief. They feel a surge of false freedom. They think they have won, but as time goes on, the arm begins to ache. The pressure of the water pushes back. The ball wants to rise to the surface because that is its nature. The love they have for you is that beach ball. It is a buoyant, living force. Every day they spend in silence, they are using an immense amount of psychic energy just to keep that love submerged. They are becoming exhausted by their own resistance. They are not enjoying their freedom. They are merely managing their suppression. They are fighting against the natural buoyancy of their own heart. You often feel that if you do not remind them of your presence, they will simply drift away forever. But this is where you must trust the gravity of the soul. Gravity does not require your permission to work. It does not require your effort. It is a fundamental law of the universe. The connection you share is a gravitational pull. The more they try to pull away, the more tension they create in the energetic cord. They are not drifting into space. They are being pulled back by a force they cannot see and cannot name. The universe is conspiring in your favor by making their life without you increasingly uncomfortable. Every other relationship they attempt will feel shallow. Every distraction will feel empty. Every success will feel hollow because you were the one who saw the truth of who they are. You were the one who spoke to their soul. Once a soul has been spoken to, it can never go back to being satisfied with a whisper. The avoidant soul is not fighting you. They are fighting the design of their own life. They are fighting the evolution that their spirit is demanding of them. You must understand that this is a battle they are destined to lose. No one can outrun their own spirit forever. No one can hide from the light once the sun has begun to rise. You are witnessing a person wrestling with the divine. It is a sacred and terrible thing to watch, but you must not interfere. If you reach out, you become the buffer again. If you try to save them, you stop the process of their awakening. You must allow the Hound of Heaven to catch them. You must allow the gravity of the connection to do the work that your words never could. This is the moment you move from the anxious heart to the empowered mystic. You realize that you do not have to do anything. The silence is your greatest ally. It is the vacuum that draws their truth to the surface. It is the quiet room where they finally have to hear the sound of their own regret. When you stop chasing, they lose their direction. They have been running away from you, which gave them a sense of purpose. When you disappear from the horizon, they realize they are just running into a void. They lose their bearings. They are forced to stop. And in that stillness, they finally feel the ache. They finally feel the magnitude of what they have walked away from. You are not waiting for them to choose you. You are waiting for them to choose themselves. You are waiting for them to realize that the only way to find peace is to stop fighting the love that was meant to transform them. Trust that the universe is a master storyteller. It does not leave threads dangling. It does not create connections of this depth only to let them dissolve into nothingness. The pain you feel is the birth pangs of a new version of yourself. But the pain they feel is the slow erosion of a version of themselves that no longer serves them. They are being broken down so they can be rebuilt. They are being emptied so they can be filled. This is the paradigm shift. You are the anchor of this connection. And the anchor does not need to move to hold the ship. You stay in your peace. You stay in your power. You watch the horizon with the calm eyes of someone who knows that gravity always brings the tide back to the shore. You are not the victim of the runner. You are the witness to an awakening. And that awakening is inevitable. We have explored the architecture of their silence and the divine gravity that pulls at their soul. Now we must turn the lens back to the only place where you have true dominion, we must discuss the practical alchemy of your own energy. You are currently at a crossroads. You can continue to be the anxious heart that orbits their absence, or you can become the sovereign center of your own universe. To change the outer reflection of this connection, you must first change the inner coordinate. This is not about manifestation techniques or psychological games. This is about a fundamental shift in how you occupy your own life. The first movement in this integration is to transition from being a searchlight to becoming a lighthouse. Think of the difference in their essence. A searchlight is frantic. It sweeps the dark horizon with a desperate energy. It is constantly looking for the ship and trying to find where it is hiding. This is what you do when you check their social media or ask mutual friends for news. This is the energy of the hunt. Even if you never send a text, the avoidant soul feels this searchlight energy. It feels like surveillance. It feels like pressure. And for a nervous system wired for escape, it feels like a reason to keep running. A lighthouse is different. A lighthouse does not move. It does not run down the beach screaming for the ship to notice it. It simply stands on the rock and burns. It is a fixed point of light. It trusts that the ship knows exactly where the land is. When you stop searching, you signal to the universe and to their soul that you are secure. You withdraw the energetic hooks you have placed in their field. When you stop pulling the rope, they suddenly feel the slack. In that slack, they finally feel the vastness of the distance they have created. By standing still, you give them the gift of their own choice. You move from a state of lack to a state of abundance. You are no longer the one seeking. You are the destination. This is the first practical shift. You must turn your light inward and focus on your own expansion. You must become so bright in your own purpose that their presence or absence becomes a secondary detail in the grand landscape of your life. The second shift requires you to trust the telepathy of silence. There is a deep fear in the anxious heart that silence equals erasure. You worry that if you do not speak or remind them of your existence, they will simply forget you. You fear you will be replaced by a shallower version of love. Let me offer you a deeper truth. You are etched into their etheric blueprint. You are not a temporary visitor in their life. You are a fundamental part of their spiritual awakening. You do not need to send a message to remind them you exist, because the universe is doing that for you in every quiet moment they have. Every time they feel a void or a sense of dissatisfaction with the mundane, they are feeling the resonance of your soul. Silence is not empty space. It is a powerful frequency. It is in the silence that the avoidant soul finally begins to hear the whispers they have spent months drowning out. When you stop providing the noise of your pursuit, you allow their own internal noise to become deafening. Let the silence do the heavy lifting. Trust that the connection is strong enough to survive a lack of communication. If a connection requires constant maintenance to exist, it is not a soul bond. It is a project. You are not a project. You are a sovereign being. The third shift is perhaps the most difficult. You must hold a funeral for the old dynamic. You must stop waiting for the person who left to return to you. The person who walked away was governed by fear and fragmentation. They were unready for the light you offered. If you spend your days waiting for that specific version of them to come back, you are tethered to a ghost. You are keeping yourself in a state of suspended animation. You must allow the old relationship to die completely. You must mourn it and let it go. Only from the ashes of that old connection can a new and evolved dynamic rise. This means you must stop holding space for their potential and start inhabiting your own reality. You must fill your life with so much beauty and so much intellectual and spiritual depth that you become a different person. This is the ultimate magnetic move. When you are truly happy without them, they feel a shift in the quantum field. They realize that the anchor has moved. They realize that you are no longer the safety net for their avoidance. This realization is often the only thing that can shock an unawakened counterpart into true growth. You are moving from the role of the one who waits to the one who leads. You lead by your example of self-love. You lead by your refusal to settle for a love that is less than the depth you provide. This is the practical integration of spiritual psychology. It is the realization that your energy is your most precious currency. Stop spending it on someone who is currently unwilling to invest in themselves. Invest it in your own healing. Invest it in your own joy. When you become truly solvent in your own spirit, you become a force of nature. The avoidant soul is not your master. They are your mirror. When you find peace within yourself, they will eventually find the reflection of that peace unbearable to ignore. You do not need to fight for this love. You only need to be the love that you are. Stand on your rock, burn your light, and let the ocean take care of the rest. I know you are tired. I know the nights are long and the mind is cruel. But I want you to remember who you are. You are not a beggar at the door of love. You are the destination. The avoidant soul is out there, navigating the cold wilderness of their own making. They are learning the hard lessons that only solitude can teach. They are learning that they can run to the ends of the earth, but they will still find themselves there, staring into the mirror, longing for the one thing that felt like home. Do not interrupt their lesson. Do not rob them of their necessary darkness. The dark night is where the stars are born. Let them walk their path. You keep tending to your garden. You keep shining your light. Because eventually, the party ends. The guests go home. The noise fades. And when they are finally ready to face the truth, they will not look for the person who is chasing them. They will look for the one who is standing still, strong enough to hold the light until they found their way back. He is not fighting you. He is fighting God. And that is a beautiful battle to witness from a distance. Be still. You are already chosen.